Hello and welcome back to the channel. Just as I put out a tier list, we get a set of patch notes, hotfix, predecessor hotfix v0.4.4, and let's go ahead and dive into it. So the v0.4.4 is now live since releasing v0.4.3 earlier this week. We've seen a huge shakeup in the meta and general builds. It's been great to see classes like Assassin ADCs having much better pacing than before, with the expectation of some outliers such as KINGSBANE and Bonesaw. These items were definitely overtuned in the last patch, and such they've been hurting build diversity and the overall enjoyment of the game. With that in mind, today we're looking to make some quick adjustments here to tackle some of the larger problems that have arisen thanks to community feedback. More changes will of course come in time, but for now we want to sort out the outliers listed above as we address Crunch and Wellspring. We're hoping these changes lead to more exciting playground in the item shop without as many items feeling too important to pick up due to their overloaded stats. We also hear you on the current TTK, time to kill, and the tank item issue. Over the course of Season 2, we'll be looking to increase the TTK and slow down the combat a tad. That's really good, but also work to make tanks feel more relevant again. We'd also like to start promoting build paths for both Sevarog and Rampage to play frontline for their teams, as well as find a better place for Steel. Interesting. These changes will focus on their survivability and ability to disrupt whilst tuning their base damage accordingly. We don't want to remove the ability to build like a bruiser on these heroes. However, changes we make will try to keep those paths open. With this in mind, itemization for tanks will be key, a big topic for the Omega Studios balance team going forward. Cool. We thank you, of course, for their patience and your quick and thorough feedback on the topics. See, I love this. It's great communication saying, hey, look, we know we're going to make some changes. All right, Crunch. With the new augmentation adjustments and larger array of items he can choose from, Crunch has been seeing a bit too much success lately, often taking over games very quickly. To tackle this, we're hitting his itemization while also decreasing his damage in mid to late game, as well as slowing down his extremely fast jungle clear. So left Crunch physical power scaling decreased from 130 to 120. That buff was up from 110 to 130 in the last, whenever he got buffed. Left Crunch cleave decreased from 80% to 50%. Forward Crunch physical power scaling decreased 90 to 75. So there's some nerfs. We'll probably feel this a little bit, but I don't think this is going to crush him. We'll have to wait and see. Muriel, with ADCs now able to amplify and stack on hit effects more easily, Muriel has become much more effective in the early stages of the game. A lot of this due to Wellspring being overtuned, but we're also going to bump down her largest shield to allow players to better opportunities to engage on her or her ADC in lane. So Consecrated Ground shield decreased from 110, 165, 220, 275, 330 to 100, 150, 200, 250, and 300. So just flat nerf across the board. All right, Breach. Breach came in fairly overloaded when combined with on-hit itemization. We're moving its ramping pen passive and keeping it dedicated anti-armor option for all classes of ADCs. So percent physical penetration decreased from 25% to 20, and then Splinter on-hit scaling decreased from 35% to 30, and then removing the scaling passive. Okay, cool. This is a conservative nerf. I probably would have done it differently personally. And would have removed one of the passives and leave the other passive strong, but this is a conservative nerf. We'll see if it still feels too overloaded, but this is an item that I think was incredibly problematic and I was not a fan of it. KINGSBANE has become the next Sky Splitter in the way that built by everybody due to its general stat overload. These changes should make less appealing as a first pickup, but still viable sustained option for ADCs. Physical power decreased from 55 to 40. That's a pretty considerable nerf. Chaos scaling decreased. This is the on-hit magic damage from 15% to 10%. Order scaling decreased from 15% to 10%. I forget what order scaling is. That's, I guess, the other passive. But this is a considerable nerf. Honestly, this alone will probably keep me from buying it in the jungle, I think. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably going to keep me from buying it in the jungle, to be completely honest. Viper. Now that Viper is more accessible and due to Corrode being easier to stack than ever, we're decreasing the potency of Viper's critical strike enhancement. This will help it feel less oppressive on these mid to late game builds. Diligence passive bonus critical strike damage decreased from 15% to 10%. Okay, that's a pretty conservative nerf. Augmentation has been seeing success on multiple heroes, and overall it's been dealing a bit too much damage. We're tackling this while also dialing down its health a smidge to maintain its identity as a damage oriented pickup on bruisers. So 300 to 250, that's conservative. True strike scaling decreased from 60% to 50%. This is a pretty conservative nerf, so I think this is going to be hey, this item is pretty fat, but we're going to pull it down a little bit. Bonesaw has been a terror on both ADCs and bruiser builds. To combat this, we're removing its lifesteal and lowering its power. This means it'll still be strong pickup for bruisers like Grux, while removing its appeal for abuse in other roles. Physical power decreased from 25 to 20. That's a weird hit. Lifesteal removed. That's also a weird hit because I kind of liked it as a lifesteal option. But recent change from bulky emerald, crimson edge bulky emerald changed to bulky emerald, saber bulky emerald. Interesting. Okay, interesting. So it's still staying its bulky like health value. That's not terrible. They're just kind of getting rid of the use case for carries to run this, so it's still just like a nice foundational item for bruisers, but the lifesteal being removed is that's pretty big. That's pretty big. I need to think about that. Legacy need a little bit more power due to its components and build paths, so we're taking some of its passives and placing it in the base stat line. We're also decreasing its effectiveness in dealing crowd control, as its effectiveness at dealing with crowd control is currently too effective with combined with high sustained builds. So physical power decreased from 35 to 40, or increased from 35 to 40. Tenacity decreased from 30 to 15. Tenacious bravery CC immunity duration decreased from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. That's good. Tenacious bravery cooldown increased from 90 seconds to 120 seconds. Okay, so you don't get it as often. And resolute power, physical power decreased from 30 to 20, which I forget what this is. Resolute physical power. I need to look into that again. Wellspring. Last week we fixed Wellspring, and since then, while everyone's been able to witness it in all its glory, this item has made heroes like Muriel and Narbash extremely strong at keeping their teammates alive and turn non-healing supports into threats that actively required anti-heal. This was too much, so we're bumping down the values on both of its passives. So Vital Water's base healing decreased from 40 to 20, Vital Water's healing scaling decreased from 20% to 10%, Soothing Water's healing decreased from 50% of target's maximum health to 10% of target's maximum health. So they're just tuning down Wellspring's healing, which I didn't even notice was a problem, but I believe that. Void Helm has felt a little inefficient, has become too reliant on its passive for value. We're giving it a small bump up to make it feel better versus combinations of mages and on-hit builds. So magical armor increased from 25 to 30. That's nice, because it was actually like, it's a big health item, but it doesn't have much armor on it. So this is actually just a nice little buff for Void Helm. Warden's Faith. Okay, Warden's Faith can be hard to access due to its awkward build path at high cost. We're helping it out a bit. This is just like an image issue. I was like, what is this? This is a crest. Okay, we're helping it out with a bit here so that the tanks feel like they can more easily acquire it as a crit ADC's build-up lead. So cost decreased on Warden's Faith by 200 gold. So the image is not here. I got these patch notes like as soon as they went live, so the image wasn't actually there. Let me see if anything else updated. No, they were just fixing probably some typos and things. So really, really interesting. This patch seems pretty decent. There's definitely some more problematic carry items that I hope that they hit on. But Breach and Kingsbane were two of the big ones. I'm excited to see how some of these bruiser item changes feel, because I do think that Legacy, it was like, it's interesting. I like that it has more power now because it feels more attractive, but all this anti-CC, it was like a little just too much. Like, I don't even think losing some of these as nerfs is going to feel bad. I think this is probably going to feel good. We'll see what the duration of it feels like. Wellspring, I didn't notice anything about. A nice little bump up for Void Helm and Warden's Faith in terms of cost, and then a little bit of effective armor. Magic armor, Bone Saw. This is going to be an interesting one because it did lose its lifesteal. So we'll see what this feels like, because it doesn't really do much damage. This is like an HP foundational item that has like a nice passive on it, but will probably only get picked up by Grux, maybe. We'll see. And then augmentation, I think, is still going to be, this is like a pretty conservative nerf. So we'll see what the implications of this patch are like. We'll see how Crunch and Muriel feel. But overall, a pretty solid and fast response, I'd say. So good job to them. And we'll just keep delivering our feedback and giving our thoughts to friends. Thank you so much for watching. Drop a like on the video. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. What do you think about these changes? And what do you feel like they should have hit on? I definitely think there's some other carry items I would like to see them maybe touch on. More specifically, crit items as well. Changing the crit values up. Hitting Vanquisher, maybe Demolisher. But we'll take a look at that in the future. As always, friends, be sure to kind of one another. Tell us when you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.